This is supposed to be a Dior Lady djoy. However, it's more like a Lady D no joy. Welcome to the handbag heaven. I purchased what I thought was a Lady djoy bag. So here is the listing from eBay. I didn't show the entire listing because I didn't want to show the seller's name. And here's the picture of the bag and all of the things that is supposed to come with it. The bag did come with a larger dust bag for the bag and a smaller little dust bag for the charms, as well as the supposed care booklets. But immediately I realized that the dust bag had the gray Dior name on it. And typically with the women's items, leather goods, it normally comes with the gold on it. So that was a red flag. It also came with this shorter strap that includes like the chain links on it with the leather in the middle. And last, it also came with the longer strap that is supposed to be leather. Immediately, I had concerns about both of the straps that I'll go into detail later in the video. So here is a side-by-side comparison of the bag that I received and a picture from the Dior website of what the bag is, the actual authentic bag is supposed to look like. And for the most part, from a distance, they look the same. But I could tell when looking close up immediately that the bag that I received is not authentic. The first thing I noticed is that the stitching was off. Like if you look over to the right here, basically the stitching went all the way up and connected to the top row of stitching on the right side. Now I'm getting close. I don't know if you guys can really see it on camera here, but yeah, the stitching, it goes all the way up to connect with the top row of stitching that goes across the bag. So, and that would have been fine if it was the same stitching that, method that was used on the other side of this bag, but on the left side, but the right side had it going all the way up connecting. Now, I hope you can see that in the video there where I'm rubbing my fingers up the bag. So yeah, goes all the way up. Right? So I'm going to compare that to the left side stitching. And, we got to just be honest. These brands, they take pride in their craftsmanship, especially Dior. They have videos out there of them making, I think, this particular bag and other Lady Dior bags. And they are pretty consistent. And I can't imagine them like just doing it like this on one side and not exactly on the other side. And it's pretty easy to do them exactly the same on each side, So let's look at the other side. So here we go with the stitching. It goes almost up to the top, but not quite. It stops. It does not connect to the top stitching and that goes across the bag. So that one goes all the way up and completely connects to that row. Yeah, you see that? And then on the left side, it does not. It just stops short of connecting. So that was a complete red flag. That is inconsistent with the brand. Quality control measures would have caught that. That is the first red flag and item of inconsistency that I found in this bag. So the next area of concern was I didn't even spend a whole lot of time on the charms. Those are a little harder to tell. I mean, unless they're just blatantly just, horrible. But it wasn't horrible with these charms. They did. I think they actually spent some time trying to get that right. But where they fell short is here with the foil stamping. This color is not consistent with the color of the stamping for this particular bag. This has it's got a color stamped into it, and this is normal. It's like a black foil. It's like a gunmetal color foil that that is accurate for this bag. But this, for the original, the authentic one, but this particular one, it's not gunmetal. It's a different color that they used here. That's not gunmetal. So that's just dead wrong. It's just all wrong. Like, I don't care how well they did on the charm itself. They missed the boat on that hot stamp area there. So that's the second area of concern I had that basically told me that this was not authentic, right there. This was dead giveaway. If the stitching didn't prove it, this definitely proved it. So next I examined the rings and the handles. So the rings look okay for the most part. They were the ones that had the screws in there, consistent with how Dior, the rings that are on typical Dior bags. But the issue was how the handle was put together. I could see residue from glue. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm pointing here on the camera to the little area, the opening where the handle is sewn together, but it also looks like there's glue residue in between there. And I don't know if you guys watch the videos, see on the other side that glue residue right there. Ugh. Yeah, that was dead giveaway that, this wasn't right. I've watched enough Dior videos where they're making the bags. I never see them pull out glue and glue the handles together. So, I mean, that may be something they don't show on camera, but I never saw it. Now, moving on to like the top of the handles, I noticed this dent. I don't know if you can see it here on camera. There was a dent in the handle. And you could tell it wasn't like from damage or nothing like that. It's just in the construction of it. So whatever they had, in between, for the structure and the support for the handle to make it, have that, firm, kind of feeling there, it wasn't right. So it had a dent, and it was only in that one side. All of the other, the other handle did not have it. So it was obvious that it was, something that, just poorly done and not caught in, quality control. I don't even know if there is any quality control with these things. But anyway, it's not consistent with Dior. I couldn't see Dior, intentionally selling a piece that had that. And like I said, you could tell it wasn't wear and tear, I would say. This was like from construction of the bag, that it wasn't done properly. Next, I took a look at the interior flap, and I mean, immediately, whatever material this is, it doesn't look like any type of quality leather that I've seen. This, it could be PU. It kind of is giving me PU leather, but yeah, I'm not thinking that this is, any type of quality leather material that they use to do this flap. Now, the first thing I noticed, the feel and everything is plastic. It's giving me, like plastic, not quality in any way. Nothing consistent with Dior's brand. And then this kind of wrinkle effect here when you open it up. It's just terrible. It actually feels like this was glued onto whatever's on some, the structure on the inside, I guess, to give it that fold over flap, kind of allowed that to happen. And, I've seen this before when I've worked on like craft projects, and I like glue some faux leather to a cardboard material, and it started, the glue, with the glue and everything on it, it started to wrinkle like this. So that's what it's giving me. This is just crap. So yeah, here's yet another red flag. Moving on to the interior. So right away, the material for the interior, another red flag. I don't know what this is. Is it velvet? It's not velvet. Suede. I don't know. I don't know what this is. It's giving me cheap, like, something for a craft project that you go pick up from Michael's. And nothing wrong with that for craft, but for luxury bags, this is not what you expect to see. It looks really cheap. Also, the color is not even consistent with the color that I've seen for this bag. I mean, like, I think this color, I don't know how it's coming off on camera, but it's supposed to be more of a charcoal, not black. Also, the loose stitching. Now, again, this could have been wear and tear, but at the same time, even the threading looked cheap and plastic. Like, the threads, I wouldn't even use this for, any of my projects that I do. I wouldn't use this cheap looking threading. It's really cheap. It gives off like a plastic vibe. So not cool at all. You can actually find, inexpensive threading that just don't look cheap like this. So I don't know what went on here. I think they may have spent all the budget on the exterior and, didn't have much left to finish the interior correctly or whatever they were trying to do. But anyway, this is, pretty bad. But okay. The dead giveaway, is the color is not right. There were some other stitching issues, like just not consistent on the inside, but even this part, even with if it was wear and tear, the stitching still didn't look right. Next, the branding on the inside. Now, this was a joke. So if you're familiar with, Christian Dior, they do their stamp, and typically their stamp have sort of like an embossed look to it, where it's like almost like a deep stamp. So the letters look raised, kind of. It's definitely not flushed on the leather patch. But in this case, it's definitely flushed. And again, like I said before, with the charms, the stamping for the charm, it is the wrong color. It's that stamp is typically, from what I've seen with the brand, it's normally when it's like that black on black kind of design, it's normally like a gunmetal, finish stamp. And in this case, it's not. It's given a kind of purpley pink, like another color is coming through on it. So that part, the leather looks cheap as well. They did a decent job with the stitching on it. I guess they, put some time into that, but everything else wasn't right. Like I said, the stamp itself, it didn't have that embossed kind of look to it. So on to the bag straps. So the longer strap, pretty much same issues as the bag. Poor quality material. I'm not gonna call this leather. I don't know what this is, but the quality is not consistent with the brand. Not much stitching issues, surprisingly, on most of it, but there are a few inconsistencies in the stitching when it gets to the more complicated areas of putting together the strap, and that's what I had expected. That's what I look at. I look at the more complicated areas, because myself, I'm learning to do leather work, and, I know what things are, pretty complicated for me to do right now. So that's what I look for. Like, okay, how did they handle that? So like here on the side here, where they're stitching, another piece of leather to get. I mean, the unfinished look, it's just, that doesn't look good. I can't see the brand, selling something that looks like this. This looks kind of rigged up, like they just threw a piece of material in there to get this thing together. And then the back where, here where you're putting on the loop, the stitching there, not so great. Doesn't look great at all. So yeah, that, those are dead giveaways. Like I said, I normally look for the difficult areas when it comes to a design. And if they did, if that's not accomplished, typically, okay, the original designer of a bag will figure that part out before they make it. So, why would they be screwing up their own design? So that's how I kind of can figure out, okay, this is not the real thing. It's not, the authentic brand work. And, it's obvious here that it's not. It looks really sloppy in those areas, like I said, where they're trying to, bring everything together in terms of the hardware and the other, leather-like material, because this really doesn't feel or look like regular leather. They did a decent job on the hardware, though. I mean, that was actually pretty decent. But everything else, was obvious. And here is the shorter strap, and much like the longer strap in terms of the, this leather-like material, it still looks the same type of quality. Now, the chain part of it, it's pretty light. It's real light. As a matter of fact, it kind of feels like a paper clip. Like, it's extremely light. Now, I have seen other videos and heard other reviews where people who really got the authentic version, like they got it out of the Dior store, they filmed themselves, going to get it and everything. So it was authentic. They did even say that the chain on the authentic bag is, a little light and not as weighty as, they would have expected from Dior. But this is extremely light. I went into the Dior store and I, held a chain. I held the strap like this, and the overall weight of it is much heavier than this one. In fact, I held the bag, and the overall weight of the bag is heavier than this one. So that all, none of the straps or the chain and even the weight of the bag is consistent with the brand. So basically, I did end up paying to have the bag authenticated by the real authenticators, or authentication, I think it's called RA. I had already anticipated on doing that, whether this bag had turned up authentic or not, because I just always do, particularly when buying from sellers, not necessarily a company, a reseller company that normally the resellers I deal with, they actually authenticate the bags before they even send them to me. When you're buying a bag and there's an opportunity to make an offer, I would lower the amount you're paying for the bag to include the cost of authentication. So that's what I did. And I went ahead and submitted this to RA, Real Authentication, I think is what it said. And I'll put up the information here up on screen. And lo and behold, what a shocker. They said that it was not authentic. So I submitted all of the evidence to the seller, and I also submitted it to eBay. eBay then stepped in and refunded me all of my money. So I just want to be clear about my position on non-authentic bags. Number one, they're illegal. Number two, I have criteria when it comes to these luxury handbags, and I have three categories here. And the first one is design. I am a true fan of handbags and fashion. I am all into the design. So it has to meet my design criteria. It has to meet my style criteria. And last but certainly not least, because I am using these things in my business, so it has to be best value. And when it comes to a non-authentic bag, I don't care if it's a 1-for-1, it's perfect. They hold no value. When it comes to the authentic bags, the past history has shown that they have been just as valuable as art pieces because they're literally like art. And last but certainly not least, these bags are designed by real people, real designers, people who have dedicated their life to this type of work. I will not support anyone who is purposefully trying to take someone else's art and pass it off as, their own, or just basically copy it. Now, I'm not speaking about people who use, maybe other designs as inspiration for their own design. And maybe they, design something that's more like a dupe, like it's inspired by the original design, but not exactly the same and not with the exact logos. I'm cool with the dupes, the inspired by bags. I buy items like that. I even do DIY similar to that. So that's not what I'm speaking on. I'm speaking on like directly copying exactly, trying to pass off an item as a brand when it's truly not. So that's just my position on it. Let me know in the comments, have you had to deal with a similar situation in terms of you were sold a non-authentic bag and had to go through the process of getting your money back? And just let me know, like, what was your experience in the comment. I want to say, though, that I hope this doesn't deter anyone from purchasing pre-loved. I know it's a nuisance to deal with these types of situations, but, rest assured you're dealing with a reputable reseller company or platform like eBay. There are protections there. You got to accept the good with the bad in terms of dealing with this. For every good thing, there's always a negative thing that goes along with it. But this does not deter me from purchasing pre-love. I will continue to purchase pre-love. I see this as a learning experience to be just a little bit more careful. But again, it turned out fine. I got my money back. It was a bit of a headache. I will do another video that goes into details about, some of the drama I experienced during this process. But anyway, I hope this video does help you, particularly, identify, or know what to look for when it comes to these non-authentic bags. And if it does help you, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you click that notification bell to be notified of future videos.